The moment Ethan Carter noticed the bracelet on the CEO's wrist, the world around him seemed to tilt, as if time itself had stumbled. His breath caught painfully in his chest, his fingers tightening around the worn folder he carried everywhere, because that bracelet was not just jewelry. It was a memory. It was a promise. It was something he had buried with his wife, or so he believed. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles that change lives, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Ethan was a single father who had learned how to survive on very little sleep and even less certainty. Every morning before sunrise, he prepared breakfast for his 7-year-old daughter Lily, tying her shoelaces with clumsy fingers still stiff from night shifts. His life had narrowed into simple goals: keep Lily safe, keep a roof over their heads, and somehow carry the weight of grief without letting it crush them both. His wife, Hannah Carter, had died 3 years earlier after a long illness that drained their savings and hollowed out their home. Since then, Ethan's world had become quiet in a way that hurt, filled with unanswered questions and nights where memories echoed louder than his own thoughts. The bracelet had been Hannah's most treasured possession. It was delicate, silver with a small, imperfect sapphire at its center. Hannah used to say it reminded her that beauty did not have to be flawless to be real. Ethan had bought it for her during their first year of marriage, when money was tight, but love felt endless. On the night she passed away, she had asked him to keep it safe for Lily one day. Ethan remembered placing it in the small velvet box, his hands shaking, his heart breaking in ways he did not know were possible. That bracelet was supposed to be gone from the world, resting in the quiet finality of goodbye. Now it was on the wrist of Victoria Hale, the powerful CEO of Hale Industries, the very company Ethan cleaned offices for at night. Ethan worked as a contracted janitor in the same building where Victoria Hale ran one of the most influential corporations in the city. By day, the building gleamed with glass and ambition. By night, it belonged to people like Ethan, invisible workers who polished floors and emptied trash cans while dreaming of something better for their children. He had seen Victoria from a distance many times, always moving with purpose, surrounded by assistants, her presence commanding silence without effort. To Ethan, she was a symbol of a world far removed from his own struggles. That evening, everything changed. Ethan had been assigned to clean a conference floor earlier than usual due to an emergency meeting. As he wiped down the long mahogany table, Victoria entered unexpectedly, alone, her posture rigid, her expression weighed down by something unseen. Ethan tried to remain invisible, but when she reached for a glass of water, the light caught her wrist. The bracelet glimmered softly, unmistakably. Ethan's heart pounded so loudly he was sure she could hear it. Years of grief surged up in an instant, mixing with confusion and disbelief. For several minutes, he stood frozen, wrestling with himself. Part of him wanted to turn away, to pretend he had seen nothing. Another part, the part that still loved Hannah with an ache that never faded, demanded answers. When Victoria finally noticed him standing there, their eyes met briefly, and something in Ethan's face must have betrayed him. Summoning courage he did not feel, Ethan asked about the bracelet. His voice was calm, but inside, everything was shaking. Victoria looked down at her wrist, her expression changing subtly. She did not answer immediately. Instead, she studied Ethan as if seeing him clearly for the first time. The silence between them stretched, heavy and uncomfortable, before she asked him why he wanted to know. Ethan explained, slowly and carefully, about his wife Hannah, about the bracelet, about how he believed it was buried with her. He spoke without accusation, without anger, just with a quiet desperation that came from years of unresolved loss. Each word felt like peeling open an old wound. But he needed to know the truth. No matter how painful it was, Victoria's face paled. She sank into one of the chairs, her confident exterior cracking just enough to reveal something raw underneath. The truth, when it came, hit harder than Ethan could have imagined. Years earlier, Hannah had worked briefly at Hale Industries during a period when Ethan was juggling 2 jobs. During that time, Hannah and Victoria had formed an unlikely bond. Victoria, then a rising executive drowning in pressure and isolation, had met Hannah during a charity initiative. Hannah had been warm, empathetic, the kind of person who listened without judgment. When Hannah's illness worsened and medical bills mounted, she made a decision she never told Ethan about. She sold the bracelet. Not to a pawn shop, not to a stranger, but to Victoria. Victoria explained that she had learned of Hannah's illness and financial struggles and offered help. Hannah, proud and unwilling to accept charity, insisted on selling the bracelet instead. Victoria paid far more than it was worth, recognizing both its emotional value and Hannah's dignity. After Hannah's death, Victoria kept the bracelet, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of kindness she had received during her darkest days. Ethan felt as if the ground had vanished beneath him. The truth was not cruel, but it was devastating in its own way. Hannah had carried her burden alone, protecting him even as she suffered. He was overwhelmed by guilt for not knowing, for not seeing how desperate things had become. At the same time, a strange sense of relief washed over him. The bracelet was not stolen. Hannah had not been careless. She had been strong, loving, and selfless to the very end. Victoria did not stop there. She admitted that Hannah's kindness had stayed with her, shaping decisions she made years later. The company's charitable programs, scholarships, and employee support funds were born from conversations she once had with a woman who believed compassion was the greatest form of wealth. Victoria confessed that she had often wondered what became of Hannah's family, but never knew how to find them. The room felt smaller, more intimate, as two lives from opposite worlds collided in shared grief and understanding that in the days that followed, Ethan's life began to shift in unexpected ways. Victoria arranged a meeting with him, not as an employee, but as a person. She listened to his story fully this time, about Lily, about balancing work and fatherhood, about the fear of failing the one person who depended on him. Moved by everything she had learned, Victoria offered Ethan an opportunity he never thought possible, a full-time position within the company's facilities management team, with stable hours, benefits, and a salary that allowed him to be home for Lily every evening. But more than that, Victoria did something that left Ethan speechless. She returned the bracelet. She told him it belonged with Hannah's family, where its story truly lived. Ethan held it in his hands, tears blurring his vision, feeling as though a missing piece of his heart had finally found its way back. Life did not become perfect overnight. Grief does not vanish, and challenges do not disappear simply because kindness appears. But the weight Ethan carried grew lighter. He began to heal in ways he did not know were possible. Lily noticed the change first. Her father smiled more. He laughed more. He was present, not just physically, but emotionally. Ethan placed the bracelet in a small box again, but this time it did not feel like a symbol of loss. It felt like a bridge between past and future, between pain and hope. One day, he would give it to Lily and tell her about her mother's strength, about how love can ripple outward in ways we may never see. Victoria, too, was changed. She no longer wore the bracelet, but Hannah's influence remained etched into her decisions. She began spending time on the ground floor of her company, speaking with employees whose names she had never known before. She learned that leadership was not about distance, but about connection. As this story comes close to its end, if it touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in humanity, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement keeps stories of compassion alive, and before the final moment, we ask you to comment one simple thing. Have you ever experienced a moment where the truth hurt, but also healed you? In the end, Ethan realized that the hardest truths often carry the deepest gifts. The bracelet had traveled a long road, just like him, carrying pain, sacrifice, and quiet love. And sometimes, when life seems unbearably heavy, it only takes one honest question, one unexpected answer, to remind us that kindness never truly disappears. It waits, patiently, to come back home.